Hi guys, welcome to the project. So first of all, I'm giving the demo of the project. So when you look at the website, you can see that there is a navbar which contains the title of the website, and also you can see a sign up button there. So below the navbar, you can see a banner which contains the details of the first news from the list. Then below the banner, there is 100 news are listed from an API by using card. And also you can see a button, more button on this card. So when we click this more button, we will be redirected to a page which contains the description of this news. So when I click the sign up button, the user will be logged in by using Google authentication. And now you can see that the sign up button is changed to logout button, and also there is displaying the username. So if this video is helpful to you, please consider subscribing to your channel, like the video and comment your feedback. So first of all, I'm going to create a new React.js project using create React app. So npx create React app, and I'm giving the name of the app as news. So now our new React.js project will be created. We have to wait for that. So our new React.js project have been created. Next, I'm going to do is to remove all the boilerplate codes. This is the website. First of all, we need to create an account here. Next, I'm going to remove these portions from the index.js. After that, I'm going to change the app.js. Next, I'm going to run the project. Okay, so this is the project. Next, I'm going to use the API. So the API is newsapi.org. I have already created an account. At that time, we will get an API key. We need to use that when we are using the URL. So I'm going to the home page. Here I'm going to click on the get started in the navbar. So here you can see that we have to select the language that we are using. So I'm selecting the JavaScript. When we move downward, you can see that this is the URL that we have to use. So I'm going to copy the complete URL. Next, I'm going to create a component named home.js. Here, I'm going to define a function, get news. Here, I'm going to use the fetch. I'm going to paste the URL that I have copied from the website. I'm going to convert this response into JSON format. Then I'm going to log this JSON formatted response. I'm going to call this function inside useEffect. Well, next we have to give the API key here. So I'm going to copy the API key from here and paste it in the last portion of the URL. Okay. Next, I'm going to remove this section of date. So next, I'm going to call this home component inside app.js. Next, I'm going to take the console. So here you can see the result. So there are 100 news in which you can see the name of the author, content, description, published date, title, and URL of the image. So next I'm going to do is to define a state. So set news. Here I'm going to pass JSON dot the articles. So I'm going to log this news state. So this is the news state. Next, I'm going to install Material UI into our project. So I'm going to take the Material UI website. I'm going to click on the installation button. So in the beginning itself, you can see the command that we need to run in our project. So I'm going to copy this command and to run that in our project. So the Material UI will be installed into our project. Okay, Material UI has been installed into our project. You can see the Material UI in the package.json. Next, I'm going to create another file, another component that is news card. I'm going to call this news card component in the home component. Next, I'm going to map through this news state. News dot map. I'm going to give this component inside this map, and I'm going to pass this data as a props into this component. So here I'm going to take it as data. I'm going to log that data here. So this is the each data of the news or each news. Okay. Next, I'm going to use the card component or card from the Material UI. So here you can see that in the sidebar of the Material UI, there is an option for card in this component section. Here you can see that there are variety of designs of cards. So I'm going to select a basic card as like this way. So here you can see that we have to use the card content, etc. So first of all, I'm going to import box component from Material UI. So I'm going to call this box component here. Next, I'm going to import the card. And after that, I'm going to import card content. Then next, I'm going to import the typography. And I'm going to give React. So here you can see that there are hundreds of cards. So next I'm going to give grid in home component as like this way. I'm going to import grid from Material UI container as spacing, and here I am going to give grid again inside this map method, and here I am going to give item xx equal to 3. Okay, so I'm going to return this completely. Now you can see that the cards in the order responsive. So next I'm going to import the card media from Material UI as like this way, card media. So I'm going to use this card media above this card content. Inside this card media, we can give the height and component image. Okay, so next I'm going to give the datas here. So this is a structure of the card now after adding the card media. So I'm taking the console. So here you can see the data structure of our data. So it contains all the uh, description, title, etc. So I'm going to use first the title. I'm going to give the title here. That means data.title. So you can see that here is our title of the news. Yes. So I'm making it as bold. So I'm giving sx is equal to font weight, that is bold. Okay. So next we have to add the image to this card. So I'm going to use the image props here. So I'm going to add data dot. Here you can see that in the console there is URL to image. So I'm going to copy this URL to image and to give that is data.url to image. So you can see that yes, this is the images. So here you can see that we have shown the image of the card and also the title. So next I'm going to do is to use another component, that is card actions. So here I'm going to use the card actions as like this way. So here we can add the buttons. So I have imported the card actions from the Material UI. So here I'm giving a button from Material UI as like this way, button component. So I'm giving the name of this button as more, and we have to give the variant of this button. So I'm giving the variant of this button as outlined, and also I'm going to give the size of this button as small. So now you can see that here it is a button. Okay, so next I'm going to do is to give the date. So I'm going to give another typography as like this way here after title. So uh, here we know that in the console we can see there is published at. So I'm going to show that published at here. So data dot published at as like this way. Okay, so now you can see that here is the date. Okay, so I am going to remove that bold. Now you can see that, yeah, this is the date. So I'm reducing the size, that is font size 10 px. Okay, so here you can see the date is in this format. So I'm going to use the moment for formatting the date. So npm moment, you can see that here. I'm going to install this moment. Okay, so in the package.json, you can see that we have installed moment. Yes. Okay, so next I'm going to import the moment in our project. So here you can see that in the news card, I'm going to import it as import moment as like this way. After that, I'm going to use that moment for this data dot publish that. So here I'm going to give this data dot publish that as an argument to this moment dot format. Okay, so next in this format, we have to pass the format of the date that given, we have to give. So I'm giving the format of the date as date, day, slash, hyphen, month, hyphen, year. Okay, so now you can see that the date is formatted as like this way. Okay, next I'm going to give padding to the home component as like this way. Here, style as padding 20 px. Okay, so now you can see that it is aligned more pretty good. So next I'm going to use the navbar from the material UI. So for that I'm going to the material UI, and in the sidebar you can see that there is an option for that is app bar in this component section. Yeah, here is the app bar. Then here from here you can see that there is a lot of designs of navbar. So I'm going to use, so from here I'm going to use the basic navbar. So this is one of the basic navbar. So I'm going to use this. So I'm going to copy this complete code from here, and I'm going to paste it in the new component that is navbar. So I'm going to change the name of this component as navbar. Okay, so now you can see that I'm going to call this component in the app.js as like this way. So here you can see that. So here is the error, that means we didn't import the menu in the navbar. So I'm going to remove this menu for now. Now we are not going to use the menu icon. So now you can see that this is the navbar which we have imported. Okay. So next I'm going to change name of the navbar. As here you can see that these photos I'm going to give it as yes to news. Okay. So next I'm going to remove this variant dense. So then you can see that the length of the navbar increased.
So next I'm going to use the Firebase authentication. So I'm taking the Firebase website. I'm clicking on the first link. From here, I'm going to click on the Get Started button. Next, I'm going to create a new project in the Firebase. So for that, I'm going to click on the Add Project button. Here, we need to give the name of the project. So I'm giving the name of the project as News App. Next, I'm going to click on the Continue button. After that, I need to click on the Continue button again. So here, I'm going to disable this Google Analytics. After that, I'm going to click on the Create Project button. So now our new Firebase project will be created. We have to wait for that. So our new Firebase project, news app has been created. So next I'm going to click on the continue button. Then we will be redirected to our project console. Okay. So next I'm going to select web icon here. I'm going to click on the web. Then we need to register our app. So first of all, I need to give the name of the app. I'm giving the name of the app as news app itself. Then next I'm going to click on the register button. After that, we need to do is to add our Firebase SDK into our project. So for that, I'm going to run this command, that is npm install Firebase, as I'm using npm. So I'm going to run this in the project. So now the Firebase will be installed into our project. So Firebase has been installed into our project. So now you can see it in the package.json. So here is the Firebase. So next I'm going to the Firebase document. Here, after installing Firebase, I need to copy the code snippet, and I'm going to create a new folder, Firebase, and inside that folder I'm going to create a new file, that is setup.js. Then now I am going to remove all the commands to make it more clear. So here you can see there is a Firebase config which contains API key, auth domain, etc. We don't want to bring any changes in this section, so I am minimizing it. Okay, so first of all, they have initialized the app by importing initialize app from Firebase app. First of all, we need to import one thing from Firebase. So here, after using this code, I am going to click on the continue to console button. So next, you can see that in the sidebar there is a build button. So I am going to click on the build. Then in the drop down, you can see there is authentication, abstract, Firestore, database, etc. So for here, I'm going to click on the authentication. Next, I'm going to click on the get started button. So from here, you can see that they are providing different authentications, that is providers, that means native providers and additional providers. So native providers includes email, password, phone, anonymous, and additional providers includes Google, Facebook, GitHub, Microsoft, Twitter, etc. So I'm going to use the Google as the provider. So next I'm going to click on the Google button. Then I'm going to enable the Google authentication by like this way. Next I'm going to select the mail ID and click on save button. So Google authentication is enabled. Now I'm going to the React project. Here I am going to import get auth from Firebase auth. Okay. After that, I'm going to define a variable that is auth is equal to get auth, and inside the auth
So
I am
next,
passing
I'm
the
going
app
to
as the
the Navbar component,
argument. So when
and
we are
I'm
using
going
this
to use the
any
button component
Firestore
from Material
or
UI. So here
authentication
I'm going
from
to add a button.
Firebase, we have to do is we
So
have to pass this
for that,
app
I'm going
into
to
the
import
function
and
that we
use
have imported
button
from the
from
Firebase
Material UI.
as like this way. Okay. So
Okay, so I have imported and
next
I'm giving the
I'm going to
variant as
import
contained,
Google auth provider
and I'm
from
giving the
Firebase
size
auth.
as small.
And after that, I'm going to define a variable that is Google
So now you can see here a
provider
button.
as like
I'm
this
giving
way.
the name of the button as sign up. So okay, so now here is the button. Next,
And I'm assigning this
I'm going to give
function
sx
like
props
this. Next, I'm going to export these
and
two
I'm
variables
giving
that is auth
margin
and get
left,
Google auth provider. We can use that in other
that
flights.
is 900 px. So now you can see that sign up button here. Okay, so next I'm going to do is to change the color. So I'm giving the color as black and background color as white. So now you can see that the now the sign up button is looking more good, more visible. So next I'm going to define a new function.
Sign in Google, an arrow function, and I'm going to use the or import the sign in with the pop-up function from Firebase auth. I'm giving async await. I'm putting this in try catch. Next, I'm going to put sign up with the pop-up here. I'm going to call this function inside this button, the on click of this button, as like this way. So now I'm going to give auth and Google auth provider, which we have already defined and exported from the setup file. So I have given these two as an argument to the sign in with the pop-up function. So next I'm going to assign this to a variable that is data, as like this way. And after that I am going to log this data. So now I'm going to take the console. So next I'm going to click on the sign up button. So now you can see that a pop-up will be arrived for selecting the email, selecting the Google account. So I'm going to click on this Google account of mine. So now the user is logged in. So now you can see that when we go to this authentication section of the Firebase and I'm going to click on this user section, you can see that a user is logged into this project. So next I'm going to the console and you can see that here this is the details of the users that is logged in. So you can see here the email of the user, display name, then there is photo URL. Okay, so these are the details that we will get after we have logged in using the Google authentication. So for example, I am going to show the display name here. So for that, I am going to the navbar section and after the button, I am going to create a typography. I am going to use a typography. So I am giving this data into a state. So I am going to define a state here, const auth data, set auth data is equal to use state. And next I'm going to set auth data, this data. Okay, so now you can see that we have given this data into this auth data state and I'm going to use that auth data in this typography. So auth data dot user dot, you can see that display name. So I'm going to copy this display name from here and paste it here. I'm giving question mark. So I'm going to click on this sign up button now. At that time the user is logged in and you can see that display name here. Okay, so next I'm going to give SX props and margin left to 10 px. Now you can see that it is very clear and I'm going to change the color as color to black. Okay, so next I'm going to use another button here, that is for logout, just like this way, and I'm defining another function for sign out, that is const logout, which is equal to an arrow function, and the arrow function is sign out, just like this way. I'm giving the async await. So next I'm giving the try catch. console.error as error. Okay, so next I'm going to give this logout button inside this on click of the next I'm going to give this logout function inside this button on click of this button. So next I'm giving the variant as contained and size as small. Okay, so next now you can see that it is showing a logout button here. So now I am reducing the margin left from here, that is I'm giving 700. Okay, we can give 750 is much better. Next I am giving the margin left to logout button also. So xx props margin left is 10 px. So now you can see that logout button as like this way, and I am going to change the color and the background color to black and background color to white. Okay, so next we have to do is to pass the auth variable that we have defined in the setup file into the sign out as an argument. So auth. Okay, now you can see that when I click this logout button, the user will be logged out. Okay, so now the user is actually logged out. So for checking that, I am going to log the auth data here. It is a state. So now you can see that I am going to click on this logout button. At that time, yeah, it is empty. Okay, so that means the data which we have we get from the sign after clicking the sign in with the pop-up is now empty. So that means we can understand by that is the user is logged out. You can see that the display name has been disappeared. So next I am going to do is to give conditionally this two button, that is sign in button and logout button. So for that I am going to define another state, that is const user set user is equal to use state false. Okay, so now whenever the user is signed in, then the set user will be true. So whenever the user is logged out, then the set user will be false. Okay, so now when the user is logged in, at that time we had to show the logout button. So user, when the user is true, then we have to show this button. Otherwise, we have to show the sign up button. Okay, so this is the condition that I have given. So now you can see that, yeah, now it is gone. That is now this logout button is gone. So next I am going to click on the sign up button. At that time you can see that the user is logged in and the logout button is here and also showing the username or the display name. So we have to put the margin left to logout button also. So for that I am giving, okay, so now you can see that logout button is here and developer symbol is here. Now I am going to click on the logout button. At that time you can see that the button is changed, but developer this display name is not changed. We have to disappear that display name from the, for that after logout I'm going to set the auth data to empty. Okay, now you can see that I'm going to click on sign up button again, and next I'm going to click on logout button. At that time you can see that the display name has been disappeared. Okay,
So next I'm going to show a banner here after this navbar. So for that I'm going to create a new component named welcome.js, and I'm going to call this component in the home component as like this way. So next I'm going to console the news state. So you can see that I'm going to take the console. Here there is hundreds of news. So I'm going to show the first news as a banner here. So for that, we can take the first news as like this way. So here we will get the first news only. So I'm going to use this single news in the welcome component. So I'm passing this news completely into this welcome component, and in the welcome component I'm going to use that news. So here I'm going to use the image tag as like this way, and inside the image tag I'm going to use the source. So in this source I'm going to pass the news of 0 dot URL to image. So that is the image that we have to show as like this way. So now you can see that we will have a banner as like this way with the image. So I'm going to give the title and description also there. So I'm going to create a new div here. I'm going to use h2 tag for title and h5 tag for description. So we can give that is news of 0 dot title and dot news of 0 dot description as like this way. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the size of the image as style is equal to width. I'm giving width as 550 px. Okay, and I'm giving the height as 450 px. I'm giving it as 400. So okay, next I'm going to do is I'm going to use the display flex here. Okay, now it is looking like this way. The next I'm going to do is to give another style, that is border 1 px solid, and I'm giving the color that is a gray color, light gray. So for that I'm taking the HTML color codes. So here we can select the color. I'm selecting a light gray color. So this is the color that I have selected. So you can see that it is not visible. So I'm selecting much more darker color. Okay. Okay. Now it will be visible. Okay. It is slightly visible. Next, I'm giving the padding to the this description and title portion or div. So here style as padding 20 px. So now you can see that yeah, here is a slight padding is there. So next I'm going to uh, next I'm going to give we have to give the question mark here. Okay, news of zero. Okay, next time what I'm going to do is to give the style such as font family. So I'm going to use the font family that is initial. Yeah, it is better. So I'm going to increases the size of the description. So I'm giving as H3 here. Okay, so now you can see that it is more better. So now I'm giving this font, same font family into the title also as like this way. So now, okay, so I'm going to increases the size of the title as well. Uh, Font size 40 px. Okay, it is much better. Then the size of the description also. Okay, next I'm going to change the color of the description. I'm giving a gray color. So I'm copying this and giving color to this description also, that is color. So you can see that it is not visible, so I am giving much darker color. Okay, so now it will be more visible. Okay, now you can see that I have given the gray color to this text field to this description also. Okay, so I'm giving it as yeah. Okay, so it is much better. So next I'm giving padding, more padding, that is 30 px to the description section. So next I'm going to give a margin top to this uh, home component as like this way. So after giving a div, I'm going to give the margin top. Okay, so now you can see that it is moved just downward. So I'm going to change the color of the navbar as so in the app bar I am giving the SX tag, XS props, and I'm going to change the background color, and I am giving a background color which is light gray. Okay, I'm using more lighter color. Okay, so now you can see that it is much better. Then I'm giving elevation to 0, and also I am changing the color of the title. Okay, so now you can see that yeah, this is the changes that we have given. So next I'm going to give a border radius to the banner. So here border radius as 20 px. Okay, so it is slightly visible. So next I'm going to do is to remove this shadow of this card. So I'm going to the news card component and I'm giving elevation to this card component as 0. So now you can see that the shadow of the card is removed. So next I'm going to do the functionality of this more button. So when we click this more button, we have to redirect it to a component where it shows the description of this news, each news. So for that, I'm going to create a new component that is news details. Next, I'm going to do is to install the React router DOM into this project. So for that, npm install React router DOM. So now the React router DOM will be installed into our project. Okay, so React router DOM is installed into our project. You can see it in the Firebase package.json. Okay, so next I'm going to do is to import the browser router from React router DOM. Okay, so next I'm going to use this browser router to wrap the app component as like this way. Next I'm going to use the roots and the root component from React router DOM. So here I am giving the path as a slash for component, home component. And a path that is news details for the component news details. Okay. So next I'm going to do is to I'm going to remove this home component from here and next I'm going to the news card component. Here is the more button. So I'm going to use the link from the React router down. So here I'm giving the more name of the link and I'm going to you can see that link here. Sorry, browser router should be imported as like this way. Okay, so now you can see that here is the more button. So I'm giving a style to this more button as text decoration to none. So now you can see that. Okay, so next I'm going to do is to use or the redirect it to the root such as news details and I'm giving a state that is I'm passing this data to that news details components by using state. So you can see here we got the data as a props from welcome component, sorry, from home component and we are passing that data into this news details components through this link. Okay, so now you can say that in this news details components, I am going to use that data. That means here I'm importing the use location as like this way from the React router DOM, and you can see that I'm going to log that location. Okay, so next I'm going to take the console and I'm going to click on the more button. Okay, so now you can see that here is the data which contains the state dot data, which is a specific data that we are passed or that we are clicked. Okay, so we can use this data directly here. So here I am going to use the title, that is location dot state dot data dot title. Yeah, so we have clicked on this news. So I'm going back to the home component and I'm going to click on one of the news. So I'm going to click on this news. So you can see that that particular news will be here. So next I'm going to show the descriptions here, that is location dot state dot data dot description as like this way. Okay, here is the description. So next I'm going to give the style, that is padding, to this component. Okay, so now we can look what are the other details that is given here. They have given the name of the author, then the content and description published at, then source. So next I'm going to display the name of the author as H for state dot data dot author as like this way. So now you can see that we can see the name of the author here. Okay, so next I'm going to give the name of the source, H6. So location dot state dot source dot name, data dot source dot name. Okay, so here it is showing the source. Then next we have given the author, content, description, and the published at title. Okay, so we have given all the details that we have we get from the news. So I'm going to give it
If
as
this video is
title,
helpful to you, please consider subscribing to our channel.
description, author, and source. Okay, so now you can see that here is a title, here is description. So I'm giving the descriptions in H3.
So now you can see that here is a description and here is a title, author and source. So we have done the details section. So you can see that when we are clicking this more button, we will be redirected